Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's your boy, Delightful Kiss Boy, and today I'm covering a very special YouTube channel. Very special indeed, and that YouTube channel is Roulette Professional. Now, Roulette Professional thinks that they have found a way to uncover patterns in the spins of roulette, to bet smarter, and ultimately profit at roulette in the long term, beating the house edge and making those big bucks, baby. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this has afforded Roulette Professional the distinct honor of being one of the dumbest gambling channels I have ever seen in my entire life. Well, how could I say that? How can I disrespect this bald corporate art piece of shit right here? Well, let's get into how I found out about this channel in the first place. Well, I made a video recently that goes over different roulette strategies, and I say that they all suck equally. There's no way to play roulette to give you an advantage, and no strategy, no way of betting is better than any other strategy. Now, somebody took umbrage with that, and they left a little comment on my video here, saying, "Most lose in roulette because they are sheep. But if you analyze, understand probability and expectedness, and map the results a roulette wheel produces, in fact, you will be very surprised to see the actual results tend to the actual expected outcome. By using this information and understanding geometric loss level, this information can provide a greater house edge than the 2.7% house edge." And they're saying, they keep going on, yada, 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 yap, 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 yap. And they say, "Don't take my word for it. Do watch my videos. Or even better," I mean, wouldn't watching your videos be taking your word for it, you dipshit? "Or even better, go watch Roulette Professional Roulette Channel. No sensational title there. Just data, informative content, and cold, hard facts." Now, I said, being the dumb, bumbling idiot I am, I said, "A loss or a win has no effect on the next spin. How would it if you spun and it landed on 10,000 times in a row? The next spin would have a 1 out of 38. Playing American roulette, what a dumbass. Sheep, each bet is independent like a coin flip. There's no way to beat the house edge." Bumbling, dipshit, Delightful Kiss Boy strikes once again. Come on. Now, Tech Roulette replies, "You don't understand, so not worth repeating myself. I gave you the channel, which can explain it better than me. I said at the beginning, looking at roulette, etc., etc." He's going on. And so, not wanting to be a sheep anymore, I went and I checked out Roulette Professional, and let me tell you what I found out. This is what Roulette Professional is claiming right here. They're saying the gambler's fallacy is false. Now, anybody who doesn't know what the gambler's fallacy is, it is essentially the belief, the expectation that if you do not see a result in a game of probability for, X amount of time, the next spin or roll or whatever, deal the cards, is more likely to result in that result that you haven't seen just because it hasn't come up in a long time. It's basically thinking that that result is due to come up, and if you bet on it, you're going to be, more likely to win. It's essentially saying that you can use past roulette data, so in this case we're talking about roulette, for a session to predict the next spin. This is what Roulette Professional is claiming. They're saying the gambler's fallacy is no fallacy at all. It is completely true. You can use past data to predict what the next spin will be. And they say that you do this not by looking at single spins. No, that'd be too stupid. You link spins together and you look at them in aggregate, and this will help you predict what the next spin is. This is vital to predicting what the next spin is going to be. And they say that you can see which pair of results is quote-unquote lagging behind relative to the expected distribution. So essentially they're saying these pair of spins, they haven't come up in a long time, therefore they are more likely to come up. It is, the gambler's fallacy, as many would claim. And they're saying you could bet on this result to improve your chances of winning, so much so that you can even beat roulette's house edge in the long term and turn a consistent profit at this game. And now I'm here to tell you, and somebody got mad at me for excluding this from my last video, so this is making it up for you. This is all certified nonsense. It is complete fucking bullshit. And Roulette Professional, if you're watching this, I want you to take your bald corporate art head and your shitty AI voiceover and all the shitty AI images you include in your stupid fucking videos and shove them up your fucking ass, you deep shit. You dipshit, you absolute fucking asshole. All right? Now, you may be thinking, well, that's a bit mean, Delightful Kiss Boy. That's not delightful at all. Why are you calling a random person on the internet a dipshit and telling them to shove their bald head up their own ass? Well, I'm here to tell you, yeah, I am being mean. The reason I'm being mean is because, you know, contrary to popular belief, I actually don't have a problem with people playing roulette. I don't even really have much of a problem with people encouraging other people to play roulette. If you think roulette is fun, you tell your friends to play it, if you make videos about it, if you know, present it in a positive light, I don't have much of an issue with that. I think it's stupid. I think it's dumb. You can do that. That's your right. What I do have a problem with is people claiming that it's profitable and convincing gullible people on the internet that they can consistently make money playing a game where you're expected to lose in the long term, basically putting out garbage information to convince people to spend their hard-earned money playing roulette with the hope that they're going to consistently profit. I do have a big fucking problem with that. I have a massive fucking problem with that. Play roulette if you want, but don't be under the fucking delusion that you have any advantage and that you can beat the fucking game. And certainly don't make content about it, promoting it and expecting others, basically encouraging others to do the same. Now, Roulette Professional, I don't know if you believe the shit that you're putting out there, and frankly, I don't care because it has the same fucking effect either way, but you are a huge piece of shit, a huge piece of human trash, and you should delete your fucking channel right now. You fucking dipshit, okay? So yes, I am being a bit mean. Go fuck yourself, Roulette Professional. Now, let's take a look at Roulette Professional's reasoning. It's like a calm, cool, and collected approach to it. We're just going to hear them out and, you know, figure out what they, you know, what they're saying. Let's hear them out, guys. Let's hear them out. Now, they start off by talking about rolling 2 dice together. And when you roll 2 dice together, you get this nice little distribution here for the sum of the 2 die rolled, all right? So you can see here that the most likely sum that you're going to get when you roll 2 6-sided die together is 7. And the least likely sums are 2 and 12. Now this is because there are more combinations of 2 die that add up to 7 than there are in 2 or 12. 2, you can only have 1 and 1, and 12, you can only have 6 and 6, but with 7, you could have 1 and 6, 2 and 5, 3 and 4, 4 and 3, 5 and 2, and 6 and 1. This is all true. This is a completely true fact. In fact, I pulled this chart straight from their video. Now, you're going to notice I'm not including any clips here. It's because I told them to shove their bald fucking head up their ass. So I don't want to incur any takedowns or anything like that, but I will be including screenshots from their video. But, you know, this is fair use. I'm citing their video. You can go check out their channel right now and go find this directly from their videos, okay? Now, this is all correct. This is all correct what they're saying so far. They're saying that you can apply the same concept to roulette, which is mostly true. What they're saying is that you can assign the first, second, and third dozens numbers, just like treating it like a 3-sided die, all right? So you have the 1, the 2, and the 3. They're excluding 0 for now, which is fine, because it doesn't, basically they're trying to make a point here, all right? So we're ignoring 0, and they're saying that if you treat the first dozen as the, you know, as a 1, second dozen as a 2, and the third dozen as a 3, you can do the exact same thing as you do with 2 dice, where you pair them together and you get this nice little chart here, and it's the exact same thing. You're going to see that, you know, getting a 2 when you add the, you know, the dozens together is going to occur less than getting a 4 because there are fewer combinations of dozens that add together to give you a 2 or a 6 as there are a 4. It's the exact same concept as when you are rolling 2 dice together. This is all true, once again, barring the fact that they're excluding the 0 as one of the possibilities, but this is fine, okay? I totally agree with this so far. All good. Now, let's introduce the nonsense. What they're saying, if they left it at that, that'd be fine. You know, you wouldn't really do anything with that because you're just taking one spin at a time. It doesn't really matter what they add up to. But they're saying you can go one step further than that, and you can actually predict what the next outcome will be based on this distribution, all right? So, for example, if we spin a 31, that lands in the third dozen. Then if we spin a 20, that lands in the second dozen, and you add them together and you get a 5. 3 plus 2 is 5. And then we add it to our little 5 bucket, all right? We're collecting data so far. Then we take our 20 that we just spun and we spin again. We get 32 this time, which is a 3. You add them together, you get another 5. So we add it to our 5 bucket again. Then we go from 32 to 19, you add the dozens up again, you get another 5, and now our 5 bucket is, way ahead of what we would expect, right? We would expect fewer than one spin, quote unquote, to be a 5, and you'll notice that our other values are lagging behind, particularly the 4. 4 is supposed to be the most common combination of spins, and we haven't seen a single one yet. So what Roulette Professional is saying is that betting on the second dozen will give us a more likely chance of winning, because you take the second dozen and what do you add to it to get to 4? You add a 2. And they're saying that because we haven't seen any 4s yet, and it's the most likely expected combination of 2 spins, and we haven't seen any yet, it's more likely to come up. It's essentially due because we've seen all these 5s in a row. Now this is complete garbage and nonsense, and I will be debunking this in 3 ways. The first way is an appeal to rationality. I will be giving a real-world example and basically describing the implications of what they're saying if this were to be true, if the gambler's fallacy isn't real, basically if it's not a fallacy. The second way I'm going to disprove it is through math. I'm going to give some mathematical examples of how you can look at streaks of results, why things tend, basically the distributions of outcomes, etc., etc. And the third way is we're bringing in the bots, baby. Who doesn't love some good old gambling bots? It's what we're here for. We run experiments. You don't just take my word for it. We don't take the math's word for it. We run experiments and simulations, yada, 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 all right? So stick around if that sounds interesting to you. Now, the first example I want to give as to why this is complete nonsense is, it has to do with games. If any of you have played Dungeons & Dragons before, I have because I'm a massive nerd, you'll know that you roll dice in the game. But this example can basically apply to any game that relies on dice. I'm just describing Dungeons & Dragons, okay? Because I'm a nerd, I'm a big old dweeb. Here we go. Let's say you have an upcoming Dungeons & Dragons sesh with the friends, all right? And you know that you have to slay the dragon. This is you right here. You got your sword here, and you're going to have to slay this giant, massive dragon in front of you. And you know the odds are stacked against you, but you got to do it. You have a weapon, a sword right here, that deals 2d6 damage. Now, for those who aren't in the know, 2d6, that's just shorthand for 2 6-sided die. So it's exactly like that distribution I brought up earlier. So you have a weapon that deals that much damage, and you want to be able to deal the most damage to the dragon as possible. So how can you improve your odds of dealing maximum damage to the dragon on your first swing? Well, according to Roulette Professional, who doesn't believe in the gambler's fallacy, what you can do is you can essentially charge your dice up. And that's why he's saying you'll be a little late because you're at home charging your dice. Before the session starts, you simply keep rolling your dice, and if you roll a 12, forget everything you just saw and start over. And you keep doing that over and over and over again. Whenever you roll a 12, start over, and when you've rolled a sufficient number of times without rolling a 12, you're ready to start, baby, because 12 is due. It's more, you've charged your dice up, and 12, you haven't seen it a single time, so it's most likely to pop up next on the next roll. And you take them with you to the session, and you roll, and boom, you get that, well, you get a 6. Damn it, you missed. Well, you don't miss, but you just don't deal any damage, all right? If Roulette Professional was correct, everybody would be doing shit like this. The casinos would be charging up their dice before they begin, crap sessions, trying to make it so it's most likely to roll a 7 or some shit like that. It's complete nonsense. There's no memory on the dice, all right? Nothing like that works. This makes no fucking sense. People would charge up the fucking roulette wheel so that it lands on 0 every time. It doesn't make any fucking sense. So it's plain to see that this is not how reality works. You can't charge up an object so it's more likely to roll a certain way unless you have loaded dice. In which case it has nothing to do with the probability, it has to do with the physics. All right? why? Now, let's go into the math. Why is 7 the most common result? Now, Roulette Professional essentially is saying that, you know, a combination of 4, when you're adding the dozens together, is most likely to occur, and that is correct. But what I want to do is I want to propose a scenario. Let's say that you're rolling 2 dice together, but you're, well, not together, but you're adding them together, but you're rolling them one at a time. Now, let's say that you roll a 6 with the first die. What is the most likely sum of the 2 dice after I roll the second die? All right? Now, is it going to be a 7, because 7 is the most likely result when you roll 2 dice together, right? Is it going to be a 7? Is the 6 going to magically make it so that rolling a 1 is more likely to happen once we've rolled the 6? No, it's not. If you look at this distribution here, if I roll a 6 for the first roll, it is equally likely to be a 7, an 8, a 9, a 10, 11, or a 12. Because the first die being rolled has no effect on what the second die result is. The reason that 7 is the most common roll is because no matter what you roll for the first die, you can get to 7 with the second die. There's a possibility. But once I've made the first roll, there is a 1 out of 6 chance I'm going to get to 7 there, no matter what. It's not like the first roll is magically affecting the second roll. That's complete nonsense. If you look at 6, you see here that if we rolled a 6, it's impossible for us to get a sum of 6 because we have to roll at least 1 on the second die, which brings our total above 6, up to 7 or above. So it makes no sense. We cannot predict what the second roll is going to be, as Roulette Professional is saying, based on the first roll. We can make a prediction about what the sum is going to be when we haven't seen either roll, and we could say it's more likely to be a 7, but it makes no sense what he's talking about. It's the same thing with these dozens, right? What he's saying here, it's the same principle. If we see the first spin and we see it as a 2, it doesn't mean that the second spin is more likely to be a 2 because it'll add up to 4, and 4 is the most common. No, once we spin a 2, it's equally likely to be a 3, a 4, or a 5. As you can see here, simply because 2 is included in any of those combinations. If you spin a 1, it's equally likely to be a 2, 3, or a 4 on the next spin. So it makes no difference knowing what the first spin is going to be, and pairing them up does nothing. It doesn't help us at all. It's complete nonsense. Now let's look at streaks, all right? Because Roulette Professional is saying that you can look at the distribution. You have to look at things in aggregate, and it will fill out the distribution over time. Let's look at how we can compute the likelihood of things in streaks, all right? The actual way that you compute this. Now, let's say that we're gonna flip a coin 6 times in a row. Out of 6 coin flips, how likely are we to see at least 1 heads? So I'm going to cover the math of how you would predict this, right? Or how to calculate this, essentially. Now the math goes like this. We have to use the binomial distribution. The binomial distribution is essentially a normal distribution, okay? For those who know, basically centered on the average, okay? So you can see here that we have k along the x-axis, and we have the probability that we hit k. So this is basically saying if we have 6 flips here, and each flip has a 50% chance, we are most likely to see 3 heads when we flip a coin 6 times in a row. That's the average here, that's the center, and here's the probability that we do so. You can see it's a little over 30% that we're going to see 3 out of 6 coin flips resulting in heads. Okay, that's going to be the most common occurrence, all right? That's what the binomial distribution is. And you're going to see here, this is the normal curve here that we kind of fit to the distribution. And this says binomial PMF. That's what these little bars are. Now the binomial PMF, that stands for the probability mass function, okay? So the binomial distribution, it's essentially when you take, like let's say a coin flip, anything that can result in 2 outcomes, and you aggregate them. So we have a streak of 6 here, and basically when you aggregate them together, the binomial distribution will tell you the likelihood that you'll see k occurrences of a certain event out of n number of flips, okay? So, what are the chances of never seeing a heads in 6 flips? Well, let's calculate that out. This is the binomial probability mass function. It says f of k, n, and p equals the probability that x equals k, which is equal to n choose k times p to the k times 1 minus p to the n minus k. Simple. Simple, right? Simple. Well, let's break down exactly what we're calculating here, okay? N is the number of trials. In this case, it's 6. We're gonna be flipping a coin 6 times in a row, so that's what this n number is, all right? So n is the number of trials, it's 6 in this case. K is the number of successes, heads. In this case, it's gonna be a 0 because we're calculating the odds that we never see a heads, all right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna calculate the chance that we never see a heads, and we're gonna subtract that from 100%, and that will give us the chances that we see at least 1 heads in 6 flips, okay? So K is the number of successes, which is heads. In this case, we wanna see what happens when we flip no heads, what the probability of that is. Now P is the probability of success, flipping heads, and in this case it's 0.5 because there's a 50% chance it's going to be heads, there's a 50% chance it's going to be tails. All right, so that's what all these different variables mean, and then you put them together in this equation, and this is going to tell you exactly what the probability is of seeing k heads. All right, so this is now what our function looks like. It's 6 choose 0 times 0.5 to the 0, and then that's times 1 minus 0.5 to the 6 minus 0. All right, now choose, when it's 6 choose 0, this resolves to 6 factorial over 0 factorial times 6 minus 0 factorial. This is basically shorthand for this because it comes up a lot in combinatorics. Now, factorial is essentially saying it's like you take that number and you multiply it by each number that's less than it all the way down to 1. So this is 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And 0 factorial is an interesting case. 0 factorial is actually equal to 1. So this is basically 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 over 1 times 6 factorial, which is 6 times 5 times 3 times 2 times 1. So you divide that all out and it's gonna be 1. But that's multiplied by 1 because anything to the 0th power comes out to being 1. And then you multiply all of that by 0.5 because 1 minus 0.5 is 0.5 to the 6 because 6 minus 0 is 6. And then we get this. So we simplify our factorial here. We get 1 times 0.5 to the 6, and we get 0.015625. Now, I'm going through this a little quickly. I understand that. I just wanted to put the math out there. I don't want to get super in depth with it, but if you would like to see me cover the binomial distribution and probability concepts more in depth in a future video, we can. I just wanted to include this on a slide so you can see that there is actually a way to calculate this shit out that isn't hand-wavy, mumbo-jumbo bullshit about something never popping up, okay? So in this case, we have about a 1.6% chance to never see 1 heads in 6 flips. Now let's go back to this, this situation here. Out of 6 coin flips, how likely are we to see at least 1 heads, okay? Well, we know that it's 100 minus 1.56%, which is a 98.4% chance that we're gonna see at least 1 heads. Now, question here is what happens if I flip a tails? Now, what are our chances of flipping heads in these 6 flips? All right, do our odds go up or down now that we know that the first flip is a tails? Well, Roulette Professional is essentially saying that if our odds go down, they don't go down by much because we're basically going to have results that most likely fit to our original expected streak, essentially. So our initial outcome was 98.4%. Roulette Professional is saying, well, we should still see a heads here because initially we were very likely to see a heads, all right? But I'm here to tell you that the odds that we're going to see a head in 6 flips, when the first one is tails, it just goes down to the likelihood of seeing a heads in 5 flips after we see the first one is tails. So now it goes down from 98.4% to 96.9%, all right? The new outcome is the likelihood of not seeing heads in 5 flips now that we know the first one is tails. We don't keep the initial number from our initial calculation. We now take into account the fact that we have essentially lost on one of our flips, which reduces the odds of the remaining flips. So let's go through the rest of the results here. We flip another tails. Now our odds go down to 93.7%, which is the odds of not flipping heads in the remaining 4 flips. We flip again, we get another tails, and now it goes down to 87.5%, which is the odds of not flipping heads in 3 flips. Or sorry, flipping heads in 3 flips, excuse me. Now we flip another tails, and it goes down to 75% chance, which is that if you flip a coin twice, you will have a 75% chance of seeing heads. We flip again, and now it goes down to 50% chance on our last flip. It is not more likely to be heads because of all of the past flips. Each of them is independent, and we keep adjusting our odds. So even though at the beginning of our session we had a 98.4% chance to see at least one heads, if we get 5 tails in a row, then we only have a 50% chance now that the next one is going to be heads. It doesn't magically make it so that the next flip is going to be more likely just because we saw 4 tails in a row. That makes no fucking sense. As you go along, you keep adjusting the probability. You don't keep the initial 98.4% chance. It's completely ridiculous, and that's essentially what Roulette Professional is trying to do. Now, if you don't believe me, that's fine. I went over the math pretty quick, but what you should believe me on is what the bots tell me, all right? So I have taken the liberty of simulating Roulette Professional's dumbass strategy that he has proposed in one of his videos. So the test is this. We have 1 million bots, and we're going to give each of those million bots $100 to start with. And the goal is to get to $125, so basically a $25 profit, following Roulette Professional's dumbass strategy presented in their video. And that's right here. This is a screen grab directly from their video. This is what the session plan is. They are basically going to play roulette, and they're going to play the columns and dozens using a probability tracker to determine outliers in the data and bet accordingly. Now, when they're talking about outliers in the data, it's essentially by looking at that distribution that we were talking about earlier, where you're pairing up the dozens, and you're seeing which one is lagging behind and betting on that to quote-unquote increase your probability of winning. Now, the stake, basically their bankroll that they're starting with, is $100, just as I said here. And then the profit goal is 25%, which is 25 chips, just like I said, getting to 125. The time limit is 1 hour. I'm not taking that into account. I'm saying it's a spin limit of 100 spins. So even if they don't hit their goal by 100 spins, they're just going to quit, and they're going to, be where they're at, either a win or a loss. Doesn't matter. But they're either going to stop when they get 25 chips ahead, they lose all their money, or they hit 100 spins. The concurrent bets maximum is 2 because they're going to bet on columns and dozens using their probability trackers, essentially. And the start bet value is going to be 1. And they have this progression system that they have, which is approximately a Fibonacci sequence, but it's not exactly. Basically, it goes like this. It goes from 1 to 1 to 2 to 3 to 5 to 7 to 11 to 18. And if they lose again, they're going to stop. So this is the way that it works. Essentially, what they're going to do is they're going to start off by betting $1. Okay, and then if they lose on the dozens, they're going to move their progression up 1 and bet $1 again. If they lose again, they're going to go up to $2. And if they lose again, they're going to go up to $3. If they lose again, they're going to go up to $5. And as soon as they win, they're going to reset it back to 1. That's what a progression system does. This is a loss progression system. So you basically start to bet more the more that you're down. They're going to have 2 different progression systems going on at the same time. One for the dozens and one for the columns. Why? I don't fucking know, man. This is so fucking stupid. But that's what they're doing, okay? They're keeping track of basically 2 separate bets, 2 separate betting systems at the same time, adding unnecessary complexity. And, they have table limits here, 1 to 180. It doesn't really matter. We're never betting above that. We're only betting 18 units maximum on dozens or columns at the same time for a total maximum of 36 units. Doesn't matter. Now, I have taken the liberty of implementing this whole dumb system in code, and let's look at the results. You can see my code over here. This is an excerpt from part of my code here. We have a random number generator. We're outputting our data to a CSV file. We're running 1,000,000 trials, and then we're starting with our stake of $100, and we're keeping track of the amount that we're betting over time. We're keeping track of all the spins. We're keeping track of all the dozens combinations in a dictionary and the columns combinations, and we're keeping track of our individual progressions. It's all a bunch of hand-wavy bullshit, but I implemented every single bit of it. So it should be running exactly the same as what they had in the video. Now, in the video, they also pre-populate their data with some of the past spin results. So I pre-populate this with 15 spins. So basically, we watch, spins on the wheel until we observe 15 spins total, because that is what they did in the video. Actually, it's even more than what they did in the video. And then we will start to look for outliers, quote unquote, in the data in the dozens combination, or the, the dozens or the columns. All right, we keep track of those separately, and we look for deviations. We look for opportunities to win big. Well, let's take a look at how these bots did. The average profit for the bots following this strategy was negative $2.31, which means that the bots lost on average $2.31 following this guaranteed profitable strategy. It's not guaranteed profitable according to Roulette Professional, but this more likely than not to win strategy. Now, the average amount bet following the progression system was $84.30 out of the initial $100 bankroll. 51.2% profited, $25. So you may be thinking, oh wow, that's above half of them profiting here. And 4.2% of them profited less than $25, but they're still up. So that's more than 50% that are profiting. Well, that right there is proof that their strategy is winning, right? Only 44.6% lost, well, about an average of $37.30. So when they're losing $37. When they're winning about $25. But the average loss is 2.74% of what is bet. So if I take this number up here, the average profit, and I divide it by 84.3, which is the average amount bet, we get 2.74% lost, which is basically the house edge, which is 2.7%. 2.7% house edge for European roulette following this strategy. So we did not beat the house edge. In fact, this did slightly worse than the house edge, but that's just due to variance. But you can see here, following the strategy has given us no advantage. I did all this bullshit. I wrote all this code, keeping track of which ones are lagging behind, and it gave us no advantage at all. It gave us the exact, pretty much, house edge, what we would expect to lose, just as any other fucking strategy. You dipshit professional roulette professional, whatever the fuck your stupid name is, your strategy, simulated 1,000,000 times, does not profit anymore. It does not beat the house edge. On average, you are losing more money than you're going to be winning, even though you're winning more often. It's the exact same fucking thing. And just to prove this, I did the exact opposite. I ran the exact same simulation, but at this time, I bet on the one that is most ahead. The one that is most ahead in the chart, basically the one that is not lagging behind, but it's like when we had that chart where we were getting 5 over and over and over again, this strategy would keep betting on 5, buddy. And let's see what that had. Bet on the highest occurrence, right? Going against exactly what they're saying. Where they're saying that, the most likely option is going to be the one that's lagging behind. What if we bet on the most occurring one, the highest occurring one? Well, the average profit for that was negative $2.36. The average amount bet was $86.39. 54% profited $25, 0.3% profited less than $25, and 45.7% lost $37, an average of $37.30. The average loss, 2.74%, which is the exact same loss percent. So, I did the strategy that Roulette Professional proposed. I got a 2.74% average loss. I did the exact opposite of what they're saying, which should give me the worst results according to what they're saying. And I got the exact same loss. So, in conclusion, if you follow Roulette Professional strat, you lose. If you follow the opposite strat, you get the same outcome. you lose in the long term. The gambler's fallacy is absolutely real. There is no way around it, all right? There's no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no possible way to be profitable in roulette in the long term. It is complete nonsense, and Roulette Professional is full of shit, okay? It is complete fucking dog shit. Now, Roulette Professional, delete all your fucking videos saying that roulette can be profitable, possibly delete your channel, and pivot and do something more productive with your time, you dumbass piece of shit. You are human trash. Stop using fucking AI for all your dumb shit. I hope you go fuck yourself, all right? Delete the channel, delete the videos, delete everything, start over, do something productive with your fucking time, you dipshit, you stupid piece of fucking trash. I'm just gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep fucking going. You can't